So I would say that motivation is doing what you want to do when you want to do it, which is wonderful. If you have that, use it. It's like rocket fuel. It's lightning in a bottle. And if you can capture that, I think you should use it. And you'll remember times in your life where you were particularly motivated for whatever reason. Maybe you watched a really empowering YouTube video and it just gave you that kick up the butt that you needed to go and get something done that you wanted to do. But this is where the distinction happens. What happens to you when you know you want to do something, but you don't want to do it? And motivation is ghosting you, right? It's not a very reliable friend, because when the going gets tough and life is stressful, which it is for a lot of us, a lot of the time you're not going to feel like doing it anymore. You're going to want to hit snooze. You're tired, you're overstressed, you're overworked, and that motivation is going to fall away. Now, if you believe that you need to be motivated to take action, then what happens when motivation ghosts you? You probably don't show up. You probably don't do what you know you want to do to become who you want to be. So this is where discipline enters the fray. If motivation is doing what you want to do when you want to do it, discipline is doing what you need to do even when you don't want to do it. And it's a big distinction, right? Discipline is being able to do the thing that you know your higher self does, the most evolved version of you does, the best version of you does, even when you don't want to do it. Because the truth is, a lot of the time, you're not going to want to do it. A lot of the time, you're going to have very valid excuses. You're going to be tired. You're going to want to choose the instant gratification or the mouth pleasure. And that's where the disciplined version of you needs to step into the frame, right? Because the disciplined version of you is going to beat the most motivated version of you every single time, because motivation is a feeling. Right? If motivation is a feeling, it means it's fleeting. It comes and it goes, and that's just the natural consequence of being a human. But discipline is a character trait. A character trait we can work on and we can develop. We can kind of bake it into the cake of who we are by going about taking action and gathering an undeniable stack of proof that we are the kind of person that we say we are, through action, through reps, and allowing that action and those reps to kind of form ourselves into this newer, disciplined version of ourselves. So if motivation is being at the mercy of how you feel, discipline is your ability to delay gratification a little bit. And I think that's really important. Delaying gratification, or your ability to delay gratification, is going to be directly proportional to your levels of success. Right? If you can only delay gratification for a couple of hours, you're probably not going to be that successful. If you can delay gratification for a couple of days, you're going to be more so. A couple of weeks, even more so. And you can see how that stretches out into time. If you're the kind of person that can delay gratification for weeks and months on end and take action even when you don't want to do it, you're going to have a lot more success, because again, change is hard. You have to fight through this resistance and this lower self. And the only way you're really going to do that is through disciplined right action. And this is where it gets really interesting, because I started by saying motivation is a feeling and it's not always going to be there. But the trick here is that by being the disciplined person and showing up and taking action even when you don't want to do it, you generate secondary motivation through action. So something that's very important to understand about motivation is it very rarely precedes action. It very rarely comes before the action. Another way you could look at motivation is almost like motivation is momentum. And the only way you're ever going to gather any momentum is actually through taking action. And that's why motivation is unlikely to find you before the action. Again, a reminder that if you're waiting for motivation to take action, you're probably doing it in the reverse order. If you want to feel motivated, you want to take more action. Right? How are you going to take more action? By becoming the disciplined person, by thinking about what the most disciplined version of you does and doing that thing. Now you take action, you start to feel motivated because you did the thing. You get to give yourself that little pat on the back. And you can now capture yourself in this upward spiral of motivation. Because guess what? When you start to become the disciplined person, you start to do the disciplined acts, you start to delay gratification a little bit and do the thing that you know your higher self needs to do even when you don't want to do it, you start to see results. And results are incredibly empowering. Results give you motivation. When you look at yourself in the mirror and you start to see changes in your body composition, when you start to feel changes in your energy and your mood, and you get a more positive outlook on life, that is intrinsically motivating. And that now is wonderful because you've got this combination of gaining momentum, aka gaining motivation, whilst building it on the bedrock of discipline, which is really good because That means if the motivation does fall away, because maybe life throws you a curveball, as it sometimes does, that it doesn't mean all your results are going to go with it, because you built it on the foundation of discipline. And that's always going to be the thing you can fall back on. Discipline is a rock solid foundation to build from. And motivation is this thing that you stack on top of it through taking action. That's basically the rocket fuel that supercharges your change. So when we think of discipline, if you're in this online space or you've consumed a lot of content, you might be familiar with a guy called Jocko Willink. He's very famous in the discipline space, and he's got a famous tagline that goes, "Discipline equals freedom." And I love that tagline, but for some, I think it's a little bit confusing, because discipline feels to a lot of people constrictive, I think. And I've just talked about delaying gratification and hard work and doing the thing you don't want to do, and pushing. And to a lot of people, that, again, it feels very constrictive. It feels, well, that doesn't sound like much fun. But let's think about it a little differently for a minute. Discipline isn't deprivation. Discipline is freedom, because it's the only way that you're going to become the person that you dream of being. That's it, the end. You're not going to get there without discipline. And the freedom that is afforded to you by being that version of you, your healthiest, most radically vibrant self, is dependent on your ability to be disciplined. So you could look at discipline through the lens of disempowerment and like, oh, it sounds so much fun to delay gratification. Or you could look at it as the highest form of self-love, the level of self-respect that you give yourself to be the kind of person that does what they say they will do. Like, how can you be the kind of person that keeps promises to themselves, that decides, I'm going to do this and I'm going to prove myself right, even when I don't want to do it? So that's really what Jocko means when he says discipline equals freedom. By becoming the disciplined person, you are going to have the freedom of becoming whoever it is that you want to be in the future, because discipline gives you the ability to take action. So we said that motivation doesn't really precede action. It comes after the fact. And the action is going to give you more confidence and clarity than any amount of thinking will ever do. If you're just sitting there thinking about how you're going to get more motivated, or trying to outsource your motivation to a podcast or to a motivational YouTube video or to a G-Up song, then you're potentially doing it wrong. Not that those things can't supplement this process and be a little bit of a kick up the butt sometimes, but again, action is really what is important here. It's much easier to act your way into change, to act your way into becoming a different person, than it is to think your way into becoming a different person. Because action is proof. It's actually tangible, right? I can think about all these changes that I want to make, but if I don't actually take action, it's just kind of this imaginative game that I'm playing in my head. When I take action, I have proof. And the goal of becoming who you want to be is building that undeniable stack of proof that I am that person. The only way I'm going to do that is through action. And the permission here is messy action. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be messy. Because if it needs to be all well thought out and, well, I don't have this right now, then my plan's not set, it doesn't matter. You will die on the cross of perfectionism over and over and over again until you give yourself the permission to just take messy action. Messy action every single day is your way of putting pennies in the piggy bank of being the kind of person that you want to become, which really is the disciplined version of yourself, because discipline equals freedom. So if discipline equals freedom and it allows you to take action, action is your greatest teacher, because it's going to give you more clarity than any amount of thinking can ever do. So this is your permission slip and your invitation almost to think about how you can be more disciplined in your life. Like I said, when you become disciplined and you start to take action, you will likely find that motivation will trail closely behind that. And that's wonderful. But if you've been sitting here just kind of like, I don't know what's going on with me, I don't feel very motivated right now, here's the invitation to say, that's okay, you're a human. A lot of us don't feel motivated a lot of the time, myself included. But because I've built this character trait of discipline, I know what I need to do to become this vision that I hold in my head of my best self, my most disciplined self. So my invitation for you is to ask yourself this week, what are you going to do to become a little bit more disciplined? What is the thing that you can commit to? What is the little challenge that you're going to set to yourself? What is the option that you have here to prove it to yourself that you are going to become the disciplined version that you need to be in order to actualize your radical health and become your radical self? Because I think if you can really work on that and you can start to become disciplined. Everything that you want for yourself is on the other side of this transformation. Discipline is destiny, as per the famous Ryan Holiday book. Discipline is the key. It is really the thing that unlocks your potential. So forget motivation for a minute. Know that it will come and it will go. It's lightning in a bottle. If you have it, use it. Let's now start to focus on becoming the disciplined person and really feel into that, because I think that is going to take you a lot further than motivation ever will. Hello friends, if you enjoyed that clip, then you can watch the entire thing by heading to this link over here, or you can find us wherever you find podcasts by searching Radical Health Radio. If there's value here, please hit that like button, let us know in a comment what your biggest takeaway was, and hit subscribe. Support the show as we support you. We'll see you soon.